This video is going to be a big one. Because I got sick and got really behind on making videos, I never released my ranking for the April Death Battle casts. Because of this, I'll be combining both April and May together into one large video. And let me tell you, there's so much to go through. So without further ado, let's start my ranking of the Death Battle casts. Oh, and the Fan Battle casts. Those beautiful, beautiful souls. Let's get a few matchups out of the way. There are 3 matchups that I'm not adding to my ranking, but I'll discuss a bit here. I just ranked these as number 0. Steve versus Terrarian. They barely debated this matchup, like, at all. The name of the podcast was Steve versus Terrarian, but most of the cast was dedicated to talking about Jesse versus Emmett. We'll get to that one later, but for this video, I'm skipping this matchup for now. It'll be properly ranked in my Fan Battle cast rankings later in this video. 10 humans versus 1 gorilla. I get it, this is a meme, but like, what am I supposed to say about this? Liam argued his butt off against Sam, but this was never going to be a death battle. 1 gorilla is just too strong for 100 men, and for anyone that thinks otherwise, I implore you to test this out for yourself. Sam argues that the men that die during this fight could have their bones turned into weapons, but I'm pretty sure that goes against the whole idea for this matchup in the first place. The idea is that there are so many men to challenge a single gorilla. Giving them weapons kinda feels like cheating to me. But this is still a fun cast, really funny, but it'll never be an episode of Death Battle, just like the next one. Every Pokemon versus 1 trillion lions. This is too stupid for me to consider. They do have some interesting conversations on whether they should include legendaries or not, which wouldn't make much of a difference, but it is a discussion that they could have. Liam later in the cast talks about how they could include that lion from Narnia, but again, that's not really the debate. The debate is who would win. 1 trillion lions versus every Pokemon, not these carefully selected lions versus every Pokemon. That raises the floodgates immensely. Again, not to shit talk this, it is a fun cast. It just doesn't do anything for me with these matchups. Now let's move on to the real matchups here, starting with another 3-way tie. Number 7, Thomas the Tank Engine versus Barney. These are characters from children's TV series who are very kind at heart, and I think that's it. This matchup is so strange, let's get into it. In this debate, Liam repped Barney and someone who I didn't list repped Thomas. I'm gonna be real, the next 3 entries didn't have much debating, so I barely took notes. Liam went ham with Barney. Apparently this mofo can change his size, transmute matter, has power over imagination, can survive forever no matter what, is 200 million years old, can manipulate the weather, has telekinesis, can create anything he wants with sparkles, transport to different dimensions, create a shooting star, made a constellation, and created a spaceship that traveled dimensions. Thomas can resist freezing and doesn't need train tracks to move. What's the dynamic? I'm not sure. Sounds like the train gets stomped if you ask me. I'm not a huge fan of this matchup, but does this next one get us back on track? No, it doesn't, because it's Marshall versus Iggy. They are both dogs that do more things than what a normal dog can do. How deep and insightful. It's easy to understand, but leaves me asking why. Just like the last one, we got a lot of info for one side, but not the other. We learned that Marshall has multiple vehicles like an EMS, fire truck, different motorcycles, stealth fighter jets, and a submarine. Crazy for a little pup. He also has a fire hose that can put out a dragon's flame, can jump out of a giant canyon, can melt ice with his paws, shoot fire, and has a pup pack that gives him a dual barrel water cannon. He is a master at pup foo, and the fastest dog in the world. Iggy controls sand with his stand, can shapeshift sand, and can attack with sand. Guys, if you're going to be debating a fight, at least give both sides equal information. I can't picture this fight with this info alone. At least for this next entry, they do get equal information about one thing per character. Papyrus versus Gonzo. Confident weirdos with unknown origins who take great pride in the things they do. Both are kind and loving characters, and both crave popularity. Interesting matchup, zero debate done. Literally, all we got for this matchup is that Papyrus can attack souls and Gonzo can potentially get hurt by a car because Kermit is also hurt by a car. There's nothing for me to talk about here. I grouped these 3 matchups together for one reason, because each of them have something to do with children's shows. The Muppets is an exception for me since I think seeing it on DB would be interesting, but all 3 suffer from just being a bit too kid-friendly. I wouldn't want Paw Patrol and Death Battle in the same sentence. I just think it doesn't work for me. I'm sure I could find exceptions for this rule, but as of right now, that's how I feel. Number 6, Jesse versus Emmett. They both are creative, positive, and quirky characters from blocky worlds. Both are very skilled builders and both embark on grand journeys. Not a lot in terms of connections, but I think this matchup is interesting nonetheless. Liam repped Jesse and Ben repped Emmett. There honestly wasn't much that was brought up here, so let's explore their main arguments. Jesse can build swords, axes, pickaxes, shovels, hoes, bows, and fishing rods. He can enchant the things he builds to make them sharper, stronger, and completely unable to break. Emmett is a master builder. He can build absolutely anything he can think of. If he is torn apart, he could just put himself back together like it's nothing. He can even just decide what hurts him and what doesn't. There's a question of his size being a problem, but personally, I just equal their size and decide to have some fun. Now, Emmett could build a mech to fight Jesse, but Jesse has a lot more options at his disposal to claim a victory. He can blow Emmett up with an F-bomb, which is a super omega TNT block. He has the Golden Gauntlets, which can cancel out admin powers, and the command block tools, which can destroy absolutely any block and turn on creative mode. Now, if you equate one Lego piece to one block, it isn't that impressive, but all Jesse needs to do is tear down the structure of anything Emmett builds. So as long as he's smart, he can take Emmett down easily. I think this is a fun matchup. The only reason it's this far down is because I just don't care for Minecraft Story Mode that much. I'll talk about this matchup again later in the video with more details, so stay tuned for that. Let's move on. Number 5, Superman vs. Sentry. I mean, the connections are really just that Sentry is Marvel's Superman. They are the strongest beings within their verses, being able to take down absolutely anyone they fight. They are actually very different characters, but that's for the debate section of the video, so let's get into that. Ben repped Superman and Liam repped Sentry. I think we all know Superman at this point. Immeasurable speeds, he can break universes with his strength, restart the entire universe with his heat vision, etc. Sentry is the more interesting person to talk about. Sentry is tied to the Void. Liam says that this would make Sentry stronger than Superman, but I doubt it. The Void cancels out Sentry's good deeds, so Sentry saves people and unintentionally causes catastrophes. Sentry has stopped Mjolnir, knocked out Thor in 2 hits, defeated Molecule Man, and can control every molecule in reality. This would be impressive if Superman didn't have full control of his molecular structure, making it so his molecules can't be tampered with. But Sentry has fought Galactus, fought the Beyonder, and is even infinitely dimensional. Superman has destroyed the World Fortress multiverse though, so again, in terms of power, I doubt Sentry could overtake him. Sentry fights with all forms of energy while Superman uses solar energy to beef himself up. So if it wasn't obvious, I do think Superman wins. It could be close, but Superman is just too crazy. They could both suck energy out of each other, meaning they could both use each other to make themselves stronger and the other weaker, but it comes down to who will die first. And even though Sentry merged with the Void and could potentially revive himself, I think Superman operates on a whole other level than Sentry. Not a bad matchup, especially for a Superman return, but I think we can wait some time before getting Superman back on the show. In a few years, this would rank higher, but for now, I can't rank it any higher than this. Number 4, Flowey vs. the Princess. This matchup has a shit ton of connections. They are both seen as cute creatures before revealing their darker side. Both can cause timeline destruction. Both feel separated from the rest of the world for contrasting reasons. Both want to recapture their own happiness that they felt earlier in life. And they both represent relationships and how multifaceted they are, showing how different actions can affect behavior. Move over, Monica vs. Flowey. I have a new favorite Flowey matchup to talk about. It's such an interesting idea, I just love it. Monica vs. Mita still slaps though. Liam repped Flowey and Aaron repped the Princess. This one is very meta and kinda complicated, so I'll sum it up as best I can. Flowey and the Princess both have control over time and access to different timelines. Flowey is able to reset time and remember other timelines, and the Princess is tied to the Shifting Mound, which essentially lets her do everything Flowey can do. Perception is key to her existence. How you see her can determine a lot, including what she looks like and how powerful she is. If Flowey resets time too much, the Princess can become a reality warping god that can easily kill him. That is, if Flowey wasn't busted in his own right. He can shoot bullets, lasers, flamethrowers, and drop bombs, all of which would harm the soul. Azrael is the strongest form Flowey can take. With this form, Flowey could destroy an entire timeline with the Hyper Goner. But honestly, I think the Princess still takes this. Azrael could kill concepts, but the level of power he has is on a time limit. He was rejected by the souls he was using, causing his failure against Frisk. Flowey would lose power, whereas the more time resets, the Princess would gain power, enough to end her entire world. The Shifting Mounds is an inevitability. They will destroy everything no matter what, and the only way to destroy it is to stop change itself. Something Flowey couldn't do, not to my knowledge that is. I love this idea though. It could be one of the most artistic episodes of the series we've ever had, and the banter potential is immaculate. Death Battle, please, bring Undertale on the show. We all want it. Number 3, Kim Possible versus Totally Spies. So this is rough for me. If it was Kim versus Sam, I think the connections would be deeper. But this is all 3 girls versus Kim, Ron, and Rufus. With that, the connections boil down to teenage spies who deal with everyday problems including school, romance, and life in the future. Not too deep. But maybe doing this episode this way lets the matchup have a better debate. Aaron reps Team Kim and John reps the Totally Spies. They debated this rather weirdly. They compared the crazy gadgets each has. They both have laser lipstick, a communicator, and a hacker on their side. This hacker can control and hack machines remotely. Kim has a battlesuit that can enhance stats, capture and reflect energy, and can become very stealthy. Not to mention her better mech called the Centurion Project though. This is a mech that gets stronger the more danger the user is in, with some crazy limits. The Totally Spies have a suit of their own called the Brute Suit, which can withstand forces of 100,000 megatons of TNT. But here's where the Totally Spies take an advantage. They have a sun laser beam, which turned a tornado into glass. And Alex survived this. This would be a heat of 300,000 degrees Fahrenheit. They have a computer which stores all of the Totally Spies arsenal and can summon those items whenever they want. And they both have shrink rays. With this, the Totally Spies are at a total advantage. But that's not after you include Ron and Rufus. Ron has magic pockets, so storing items won't be a problem. He knows mystical monkey kung fu, can command an army of ninja monkeys and wield the Lotus Blade that can transform. Ron in his evil state is also deadly, being able to take down Kim and Shigo. And Shigo herself is crazy, being able to melt glass with the heat of her fire. Ron could go into his evil mode if Kim hit him with the Attitudinator, but the Totally Spies have cured evil before, so it's not a win con. So they can both hack each other. Both can prevent hacking, both have suits, and both know martial arts. It seems pretty even. Well, here's where we determine the winner of this fight. Rufus. Rufus knows mole rat kung fu, has the same blade Ron does but smaller, can speak to and summon a giant roach army, and can become a kaiju. It doesn't matter how smart Sam is, how many exploding moons they could survive, or how they could survive with their souls ripped out of their body. The Totally Spies can't compare to Rufus. And if you use crossovers, Team Kim scales to Stitch, so the Totally Spies are even more fucked. I feel like I would like this more as a one-on-one, but even as a team fight, this sounds so fun and something that I would be totally on board with once it's been announced. Number 2, Gohan vs. Koga. These are the successors of the main character in their series. They both power up while harnessing their rage. They both fight even though their hearts aren't fully in it. And they both are kind-hearted people that would give up anything to protect those close to them. This could be such a heartfelt and emotional fight. One that I ended up liking a lot after all is said and done. So this is a quick one because they really didn't bring up much for either side. Gohan is rep by John and Koga was rep by Liam. Just like Superman, we all know Gohan. He's the strongest Z fighter. He's got Super Saiyan and his beast form, and at his strongest, he can contend with Broly and Ultra Instinct Goku, who both can fuck up reality with their punches. That's all we get for Gohan's side. For Koga, we learn he could destroy atoms on an atomic level because of his Cosmo. He's a master at fighting, just like Gohan. He can punch so fast that it appears as a beam, and he can harness both light and darkness. Like I said, they didn't bring up much, but I still think Gohan wins. Koga has precognition, can fight while unconscious, and create force fields as well as heal himself. But it all comes down to stats, and I don't think Saint Seiya compares to peak Dragon Ball. Why is this so high then? I mean, thematically, it's really cool and I really love the banter potential. On top of that, it's Dragon Ball vs. Saint Seiya, a legacy matchup for those in many Spanish-speaking cultures. I think this would pay honor to them, and not tie Goku down to fighting Seiya. This is a prime example of what I think might be a stomp matchup that I still like a lot. So hopefully, they make it. And number 1, Toru vs. SCP-096. This is really simple, but really cool. This is a matchup of a pursuer versus a defender. 096 will chase after anyone that sees his face, and Wonder of You will bend the world to his whim to make sure whoever is pursuing him gets killed. This is really simple to understand, but my god would it be amazing to see. The imaginary access really needs to come back for every Death Battle cast. I swear he makes things so entertaining. He repped SCP-096 and Liam repped Toru. Like I said before, if you target Toru or his stand Wonder of You, his stand will alter fate and cause calamities that will kill you before you ever reach your mark. You can't follow, think about, or attack either of them or else you will die. SCP-096 is a powerful opponent. If you see a picture of him or see him in any way, he will find you and he will kill you. He once even killed someone at the bottom of an ocean. Even if you only see a few pixels of him on a computer screen, it's enough to make him chase you. But if you see drawings of him, your life is still fair game. An interesting aspect is that Wonder of You is a stand that lives its own life. Everyone can see him. If it were Wonder Review or Toru versus 096 without using stand abilities, they would die in an instant. The question is if 096 could survive everything Toru throws at him. Wonder Review can cause metal beams to randomly drop. Random accidents that they don't even know about will randomly occur, and they even killed someone with nothing but raindrops. The ability does not abide by logic. It will kill anything it touches. Here's the thing though, 096 has an unbreakable skeleton, can regenerate from nearly nothing, can survive dipping into the sun, and can circle the planet in 8 minutes. That is a level of speed and durability that Wonder Review has never competed with. What really made the winner for me is power. I get that Toru has made crazy shit happen before, but 096 is at a level that he can't compare to in my opinion. This is such a fun matchup with infinite potential though. Literally every amount of crazy shit can happen and it all makes sense and can be in character. I find this matchup a joy from beginning to end, and I hope to God that this becomes a full episode someday. Now that we finished the DB casts, let's continue with the fan battle casts. We have a lot of unique matchups, so let's get right into it. Number 11, Flint Lockwood versus Finn Shepard. These two are both unlikely heroes that save the world from strange natural disasters. They are both very resourceful, using their unique skill sets to get out of a variety of situations. And they both fight things far beyond what a human would deal with, including monsters as well as things that travel through space and time. This fight, look, maybe I'm just not the right audience for this one. I get it, but there's a lot that confuses me. Kino rep Flint and UX rep Finn. Is it UX or Yulks? I don't know. As a baseline, I get it, but as a fight, it just seems a bit mismatched. Just look at their arsenals. Finn is a master marksman with many guns. He has 10 chainsaws to fight with, including a laser chainsaw, the Excalibur chainsaw that shoots lightning, and the Holy chainsaw which shoots lasers. He also has a mech suit that not only has chainsaws, but can fly, tank a nuke, radiation, and deadly amounts of electricity. Not like he'd need all of this equipment in the first place since he's plenty durable on his own. With all of these weapons and equipment, Finn tears through sharks easily, but can he cut through a gummy bear? Flint has a knife that can cut through a giant gummy bear, and that in and of itself is a massive feat. Flint is a genius, inventing many different things: flying cars, time machines, weather machines, and wormholes. Flint also has his own chainsaw, has spray-on shoes that can go through cinder blocks, has laser soap that will float around and shoot lasers, multiple ways for size manipulation, can petrify people and turn those stones sentient, has an invisible coffee table he swings around, an invisible perfume that disintegrates objects, and an instant ice cube machine that can freeze someone instantly. Flint can even compare with a mech of his own, and this mech is strong enough to rip out lampposts and use them as a sword. Flint is definitely more impressive with his tech, but Finn could disable some of Flint's options of combat through his EMPs. It wouldn't work on all of Flint's inventions, but it could knock out a fair few of them. And we know Flint can be harmed through electrocution, and his tech does break a lot, so this could be a major advantage, especially considering that in a one-on-one fight, Finn takes the advantage. He's a master of his environment. He can have enhanced senses, he's a master of disguise, probably better than Flint, and even has ways to both travel through time and destroy time loops. But without a doubt, I think Flint should win this. Flint has a bunch of robots to overwhelm Finn, has MacGyver-like skills to create inventions on the fly, has an interdimensional portal that takes him into a world of vampires, has flops, pictures of animals that emit a sound that attract animals to the pictures, and can even put people inside TV shows. The storms that Finn goes against could be calced to Uni Plus if generous, and the food storms that Flint deals with only covered maybe half the planet. But Flint's gadgets, minions, and let's be real, spray-on shoes would give Flint the victory in the end. I actually kinda like this more after writing this section. I watched the cast and didn't get it, but grouping everything together, it's really fun. This is a good sign to come for the rest of the cast for this month. Number 10, Jesse vs. Emmett. You saw the connections in the Death Battle cast section. Now we are here to re-explore Jesse vs. Emmett, but this time we have Dark Lore Master repping Jesse and Fennec repping Emmett. You want a better debate? Well, you got one. There's a lot of information to cover here. Dark Lore argues that Jesse should get any item from the base game of Minecraft. This includes diamond tools, bows and arrows in every single building block. Emmett isn't limited by blocks or tools. He has Lego bricks, and with these he can create anything he wants. Motorcycles, hang gliders, guns, space guns, tracking devices, tractor beams, etc. He can build anything in seconds since he is a master builder. But Jesse also has a speed building ability, so in terms of building their arsenals, both could be more comparable than you'd think. They both have a giant and unconventional arsenal, like how Jesse can have ender pearls, spawn eggs, a wingsuit that can be powered by rockets, the command block tool like I mentioned before, the enchanted flint and steel which can open portals to other dimensions, and if he lights up this flint and steel, then it will emit massive blue flames. He has the redstone heart which can power computers and take over different beings, and an elixir that can destroy command blocks. Impressive stuff, but could those compare to Emmett's super items? He has a super boombox which forces people to dance, a super magnet, super shield, and super map. This may not seem like much, but imagination is Emmett's limit. If he can think of it, he can create it. Not to mention Emmett should scale higher. He can destroy massive asteroids, has MFTO reaction speed based on his space travel, and can survive something with an impact of 255,475 tons of TNT. He's no slouch, but Jesse has plenty of ways to keep up. He has the Potion of Swiftness, Potion of Jump Boost, Potion of Invisibility, the F-Bomb which can mortally wound the Wither Storm, and the Gauntlets like I mentioned in the DB cast section, and they can both slow each other down. Jesse with the Potion of Slowness and Emmett with the Crackle Gun. This one is much harder to call, but I think Jesse wins. Emmett has his giant armor that'd be hard to take down for sure, but Jesse's Gauntlet could just break apart the mech. Not to mention the enchanted flint and steel could just melt Emmett and his armor. And then there's the biggest factor. Emmett is kinda dumb. Jesse would without a doubt outsmart him and take the win. Fun cast, crazy debate. Hopefully it'll be an episode someday. Wait, Jesse is weak to water and Emmett has a water bucket? Shit, I'm changing my vote now. Number 9, Spider-Man vs. Kamen Rider Build. Both characters, after losing their fathers, found peace with another father figure later in life, just for that father figure to become evil. They both love arguing and bickering with the villains they fight, and both are scientists with great minds that invent different gadgets to fight their foes. This matchup has an obvious struggle within the community, but I'll get to that later. Saul reps Spider-Man and Kamen Rider Build rep Darklore. Wait, what? Sorry, flip that. So this is a full composite of both characters because I guess this matchup just doesn't work on its own. And if you know me, I'm not a huge fan of compositing characters because it just makes everything so messy. And that's no exception here. Let's start with Spider-Man. He can swing around and shoot webs, has the powers of the Juggernaut, Dr. Doom's armor, and has fought the Beyonder. He was a zombie for a short time, and at one point became cosmic. There's a lot of contradictory information off the bat, seeing as most of these examples are taken from completely different realities. But I'll just deal with it for the rest of the video and stop complaining. Zombie Spider-Man can infect people with the hunger virus, and sense and absorb part of the power cosmic. With this he could fly, shoot energy beams, alter his size, alter matter, turn invisible, melt someone's body, read minds, manipulate gravity, manipulate memories, BFR, erase from causality, and erase someone from history. What the actual fuck, man? Kamen Rider Build has the build driver, which gives him multiple different forms. These transformations come in the forms of bottles, and he can mix these bottles to get stronger forms. Like how he mixed the vacuum cleaner in Huck bottles to fly around the sky and suck up objects. He used the sparkling bottle, which is a more enhanced version of the Rabbit and Tank, but I don't believe Darklore explains what that form does. But if I had to assume, it made him fast and durable. He can power himself up using Hazard Trigger, but this makes him Rampage. It may seem like his arsenal isn't as impressive as Spider-Man's, but he is a genius with everything he does. He found ways to alter someone's biology, meaning that he could have an answer to zombie Spider-Man. With Kamen Rider Build's transformations, he gets healed when he transforms with the Nebula gas. Both combatants have entered our own reality, and both are very skilled fighters. I mean, Kamen Rider Build can also combine the Pirate and Train bottles to do something. I'm not sure what it'd give him. Either way, Spider-Man has powers from the Beyonder, giving him omnipresence, omniscience, teleportation, shapeshifting, transmutation, healing. He can age people, steal powers, mess with tech, copy powers, and erase from reality. This last one comes in handy since Kamen Rider will always survive as long as someone in the world remembers who he is. I mean, it really wouldn't even matter if Build could steal the Beyonder's powers with a bottle and use them, and would know everything about Spider-Man after seeing him once. Wait, what? I'm not actually sure how to call a winner. Peter Parker has been the Hulk, Juggernaut, and Ghost Rider, while Build has a form where he is a reality-warping god. Spider-Man is really smart, but Build compares to someone with a 600 IQ. Spider-Man can regenerate and revive himself, but Build can corrupt a being with his gas. They could both manipulate fate, and with the Equalizer, they would both die in just one hit. If I had to choose a winner, it would be Spider-Man, seeing as he could hack Build's tech in multiple ways, giving him the edge. but man, this is tough. Personally, I don't think this is the one for either character, but if the pitcher happens to find this video, please give me more insight on this. I would love to hear about what makes this special to you. The same goes for the rest of the pitch matchups I talk about. I'm never going to understand every single character pitched, but I'll have a better idea if you tell me what makes it special to you. It's the same with me in Rivet vs. Blaze. I don't want to dislike any matchup. In fact, I find merit in almost every single one I find. So if I come off as negative, let me know why I'm stupid. For now though, let's move on to number 8. Number 8. Squirrel Girl vs. Pepsi Man. Both are 90s superheroes that have gained resurgence as of recently. They are both practically unkillable. Their namesake describes a lot about themselves. Having Pepsi gives Pepsi Man power and Nuts gives Squirrel Girl power, as well as Pepsi Man having Pepsi-related abilities just like how Squirrel Girl has some squirrel-related abilities. And they both obtain their powers through unknown means. Now, I know the pitcher for this matchup, and he's a great guy, but there's just a lot I don't understand about this matchup. Let's get into it. Paul repped Pepsi Man and Kagura repped Squirrel Girl. I feel like Kagura started at a natural advantage. Squirrel Girl's rep is crazy. She commands an army of squirrels, can dig through the ground at astounding speeds, can jump really high, use her fingers as knives to cut through tempered glass, has sharp teeth, knuckle spikes, Wolverine-like bone claws which can cut diamonds, has perfect night vision, can shoot acorns hard enough to knock people out, and has cards from Deadpool that gives her special info on every Marvel villain. Or almost every Marvel villain? I can't remember. It's a little bit hard to compare Pepsi Man's powers to hers though. He has a body made of space metal, can skateboard like a madman, jump high enough to land on top of buildings, can shrug off buildings collapsing on top of him like it was nothing, is immune to fire, his body can deflect lasers and fuse with any metal, he can self-destruct and be a-okay, can summon and burst out Pepsi cans whenever he wants, has a car and a Harrier jet. He also can disintegrate a small area, destroying the land, his enemies, and a news van, but somehow control his powers enough that he saved people who should have been caught in the blast. That's really impressive. The same way Squirrel Girl can use Nuts to give her energy, Pepsi Man has his Pepsi that will do the same. Pepsi Man can summon Pepsi with the wave of his hand, while Squirrel Girl can have her squirrels retrieve nuts for her, and she even has a squirrel stampede, and those numbers are giant. Even if she ran out of nuts, she could just teleport away to get more, and then just try again. But I think Squirrel Girl wins overall. She has the Squirrel Copter, is much smarter, has a smart army with her squirrels that can dismantle an entire jet, and has the Iron Squirrel Mark 1 and 2, which can reform itself if broken and fly in space. Even if Pepsi Man can sense thirst, run over 186 miles per hour, dodge bullets, divide himself, and could be planet level with G1 Transformer scaling, Squirrel Girl beat the whole Marvel universe, can dodge Iron Man's repulsors, and has her famous Takuno Jutsu. I don't see Pepsi Man winning. He's outscaled, outsmarted, and outskilled. I think this is a fine idea, but my unfamiliarity with the characters might be hampering my enjoyment for this a bit. Like every pitch, please let me know what I might be missing. But for this entry, I think it's good. There's just context needed for me to think it's great. Number 7. Itachi vs. Aqua. These two are double agents, seemingly joining the side of evil before revealing that they were undercover the entire time. They're both considered prodigies who are nearly impossible to defeat, and they both have red eyes that tie into their clans. I was interested in this cast. Itachi is a character that is so hard to find a good matchup for. Is this the one? Let's find out. In this debate, Kagurabachi reps Itachi and Queen of the Dead 2023 reps Aqua. Immediately looking at the aesthetic, I get it, but I have some trouble following how the fight would go. Itachi is easy to understand. He and Aqua are both assassins who are masters at martial arts, but Itachi has the advantage with his Sharingan. With this, he can predict movements, cast illusions, and cover someone in black flames until they burn completely. He fights using his ninja tools and his jutsu. He can shoot big and small fireballs that can break through stone, and he can also use some water ninjutsu, although Kagura doesn't really specify what those jutsus specifically do. Aqua is an S-class vampire, which is the level of the strongest demons. She uses Yojutsu, which is kind of like Ki from Dragon Ball. This lets her use magic feats and abilities. I apologize if I say these abilities' names wrong, but Aqua has Shigentu, which can shift her body parts from her current dimension to a higher dimension. She can essentially phase through objects. She's really strong and really fast, but she's weak to water and soap. And what jutsu can Itachi use again? Right, water jutsu. Itachi can not only cast illusions with his eyes, he can also cast illusions by just pointing at someone. Aqua can fight against strong illusions though, so this might do nothing to her. Even without that though, Itachi wins this. He's more mobile, being able to walk on water and any surface. He's a genius fighter, so even if Aqua did phase, he would notice little ways to get attacks to land. Her phases can only be bypassed by someone phasing on the same higher dimension that she phases to, but her phases do have a cooldown, which Itachi would notice. Aqua might be able to take major damage, but Itachi just has all the skills necessary to take her down. It's a good fight, I'd say, but I need something more to make it great. The phasing is cool, but it sounds like Aqua is a one-trick pony. Someone like Itachi has more than enough means to take her down for good in my opinion. Although Aqua's design slaps though. So please, do this episode anyway. Number 6, Steve versus Terrarion. These are two highly adaptable people that start off with almost nothing, but through their hard work and creativity, manage to survive in a harsh world filled with deadly monsters. And both are deeply rooted within their universe's lore, making them vastly important figures. I skipped it before, but I do like this matchup a fair bit. We're off to a great cast here. Noah, I'm not sure if this was planned, but you somehow pulled off the perfect strategy. Noah reps the Terrarion and Nightfall reps Steve. Noah did a fan battle episode for this matchup, and I think it's a pretty good episode honestly, but in that episode, he said Steve wins. To go against that now is insane. But let's get into the debate. Speed-wise, the Terrarion should be much faster, the Terrarion being lightspeed and Steve being subsonic. Steve should also be much weaker, Steve contending with the Ender Dragon, which would put him at 13 kilotons of TNT, while the Terrarion can fight creatures that can move planets, and that's only a fraction of their power. This seems like a finished fight, until you include the Legends and Dungeons canon, where things get more interesting. With those, Steve has the Orb of Dominance, which can shoot a fast beam that freezes the sun. This is 14 times faster than light. Now I know there was a long segment that Nightfall did justifying the speed of the beam and how Steve scales to it, but I'm just gonna trust him here. It's all good in my book. He now can also scale to a being called Mabo, who destroyed an object 200 times the size of Earth. I can't remember if I wrote this note as a joke or if it was what they stated, but it says Sun Disk feat here, and I can't remember why. I'm not sure if these feats can be used in their entirety for scaling purposes, but it does make this debate a lot more interesting. The Terrarion has the Nebula Fragments, which can be used to create weaponry with the same energy of entire galaxies, according to the tooltips. I've seen many people argue with the authentication of tooltips before, so I know they aren't exactly trusted within the Versus community. Personally, I don't think this level of power is feasible within Terraria, but I'm willing to be proven otherwise, seeing as they said that the old one from Dungeon Defender can also scale to galaxies. Crazy stuff indeed. Noah also says the Terrarion should be MFTL based on Martian travel, but it still wouldn't give him the speed he needs to surpass Steve. They both have multiple deadly and useful weaponry and abilities. Steve has the Corrupted Vines, which trap enemies in place, Tempo Theft, which can steal a person's speed, Gravity Pulse, which can pull people and objects towards Steve, the Love Medallion, which could cause the Terrarion to fall in love with Steve, Thorns, which will revert damage back onto an enemy, upping its damage by 200%, multiple armors and shields that'll block anything the Terrarion throws at Steve, the Totem of Shielding, which will destroy projectiles, the Sturdy Shoulder Armor, which will reflect projectiles, the Wither Potion and Poisons that can bypass durability and defenses, Cleave can deactivate shields with an axe, and Piercing Arrows bypass armor. Noah doesn't bring up much else for this debate. He talks about the Terrarion's different swords, guns, his flight, teleportation, portal creation, summons, poison, electrical fields that bypass durability, and most importantly, the Aachen Shield. I think that's how you say it. This shield grants immunity to pretty much every status effect, meaning a good bit of Steve's arsenal would be unaffected. The winner is Steve though. He has the Death Barter, which spends 50 emeralds to revive himself, meaning he could have up to 311 instant revives, not to mention the Totem of Undying, which will revive Steve upon death as well, and Steve could compare to Terrarion's summons with his own. Iron Golems, Wraiths, Indestructible Pigs, etc. Steve just has too many ways to deal with the Terrarion's arsenal regardless of the scaling you believe. This was controversial on Noah's channel when this episode released, because he said Steve won. He is actively debating for a character who he doesn't think wins, and you can kinda tell because he debated kinda badly here, yet he still somehow won. It just goes to show you that the more popular option will always have a leg up on the more controversial victor. We've seen it before and we'll see it again. Fun matchup though, and fun cast overall. Number 5, Sephiroth versus Kefka. These are two iconic villains from Final Fantasy. They were both experimented on to make them strong soldiers. Both were part of powerful military forces. They both gained godlike powers after absorbing magical energy sources. They both attempted to destroy the world, and both are contrasted by having Kefka, a being resembling light, be goofy and silly, while Sephiroth, a being representing darkness, is a lot more stoic and serious. But both have angelic godly forms that they take at the end of their games. I'm usually not a fan of the same series matchups, but I think I'd actually be fine with this one. It provides enough contrast to make the matchup truly interesting. This is a truly special one. We have the one and only Josh Scorcher repping Kefka and Fennec rep Sephiroth. We've got a guy with a big sword versus the god of magic. This isn't even a fight. Jokes aside, with just that knowledge, we know that Kefka is a better mage and Sephiroth is a better physical fighter. Who's stronger? Well, if you count Gilgamesh, they have equal stats. But they both could still be scaled to multiversal based on different factors. Sephiroth's use of the lifestream gives him a multiversal shield and it can revive Sephiroth if he dies. Sephiroth can also revive as long as people remember him. So Sephiroth is a goddamn Kamen Rider. Cloud has access to spiritual energy, which Sephiroth should comparatively have. Spiritual energy gives Cloud Type 1 conceptual manipulation, info negation, regen negation, and Type 2 to 9 immortality negation. If you're wondering what all of those mean, check Versus Battle Wiki. I'm pretty sure that was used for some part of Sephiroth's analysis here. Kefka can scale up to multiversal based on the Esper War. Espers created alternate universes, and Kefka stole all of their magic power for himself, meaning that Kefka can now use any spell within Final Fantasy VI's universe. Although with Materia, Sephiroth should know most of the same spells. This includes Ultima, the strongest spell in Final Fantasy VI. I'm not sure if Sephiroth can use that specific spell, but he does have both Meteor, which has the ability to bypass the livestream, and Supernova, which can wipe out an entire galaxy. They are both pretty busted, so who wins? I think Sephiroth should win, but I think Kefka could win. There's too many he shoulds for me with Kefka's win cons. Kefka should be stronger, Kefka might have spiritual energy, and Kefka should be able to absorb Sephiroth. Sephiroth is connected to the lifestream, so the only thing that Kefka could do to kill him is become part of the lifestream himself by absorbing Sephiroth. But I really doubt that would happen. Now, Kefka should be smarter, but to defeat Sephiroth, a person who exists on a higher dimensional plane, he would need much more than the abilities he has to ensure a win. This was really fun though. Both debaters made really good points, but I just think Sephiroth wins overall. I'm not sure why, but this one it really appeals to me. It can have a unique dynamic with two villains that are well renowned within the RPG fan bases to this very day. Truly a matchup worth praising. Number 4, Winter vs. Dabi. These are two older siblings of established characters in their series, both being valued by their parents before doing something that made them lose their status. They both opposed their siblings and were part of organizations that fought against them, rising in the ranks of those organizations until becoming top members. They both hate their fathers, as well as Winter being a caring person with a cold exterior, while Dabi is just cruel all around. Santi Sherm reps Winter and my main man Zoro reps Dabi. They're both good friends of mine. I need to stop with this shit. You would think this matchup is simple. It's ice versus fire after all. But there are quite a few things that make this matchup unique. Firstly, Dabi has blue fire, which of course is hotter than red fire, so it would melt the ice more easily. On top of this, Dabi has some ice resistances because of his mother, so it should be an easy dub, right? Well, not exactly. Winter has been trained in the military for years and is a master with the blade. If it came down to skill, Winter would win easily. Winter's main ability involves her glyphs. She has glyphs that will summon ice versions of different Grimm. She can jump off of glyphs, propel people or objects away from her, as well as using the time dilation to quite literally mess with the way time works for herself, making the enemy perceive her in fast motion. There are arguments Santi brings up about lightspeed, but honestly I'm not sure how credible they are. I'm not saying he's wrong, it's just lightspeed feats have rules they need to abide by to gain their speed classification, and oftentimes people will see a beam of light and call it lightspeed. For the sake of this argument, let's buy this feat. Dabi could counter these by using his phosphorus effect, which stores up heat for stronger attacks. He has the Hell Minefield, which will erupt fire pillars from the ground. He has the Hell Spider that can cut and batter people. He can fly with Flash Fire Fists, and he can use his phosphor to create an explosion 4 times the size of Hiroshima. If Winter only had her main abilities, it would be a wrap for her. Good thing she's acquired some good old maiden abilities to help her out here. She now has control of fire, lightning, water, and earth to do with as she pleases. But by no means is she a master at these. She is a relatively new maiden, so her abilities shouldn't be scaled to a maiden at her peak. The maiden powers are what decided the winner for me. Winter has an aura. If that aura is damaged too much, Winter will lose the shield covering her body as well as the ability to use her glyphs. She'd be a sitting duck, but with her maiden powers, she would still be able to keep pace. Zoro makes statements about how he could copy Winter's abilities and create flame variants of her attacks, but I disagree. I think to an extent he could copy certain fire and ice abilities, but not to the extent that it would warrant a win. Winter would be too fast, too mobile, and has the best win con known to man. She can stab him in the head, and even Dabi wouldn't survive that. I'm in the minority here, and I think Winter wins this, but my mind could change if I saw other feats and abilities these characters performed. I think this is a fun matchup, my preferred for Winter, and I hope we see more My Hero Academia and RWBY matchups in the near future. Number 3. Ghostface vs. Fisherman. These two are both slashers that began in the 90s. They are both more down-to-earth killers using short blades and guns to kill their victims, and they both typically kill out of a place of revenge. We need a good Halloween matchup every now and then, and I think this one has a lot of merit. This was the second pitch done by Paul, and honestly I do prefer this one over the other matchup he pitched, but he did lay out some ground rules for the fight. There will be two Ghostface present because that's normal for the Scream movies, and Scream gets all movies used as reference material while Fisherman gets everything except his TV and book appearances. With that out of the way, let's start the debate. Paul repped Fisherman and UX repped Ghostface. They are both masters of stealth, both could get the jump on the other, but Ghostface has the advantage of having two people. This normally catches people off guard, so Fisherman should be no exception. There are arguments that Ghostface can turn invisible, but according to them, they can only turn invisible if both Ghostfaces are in separate rooms. That argument is just a little weird for me, I'm not sure where it's from. Fisherman fights with hooks, garden shears, a fire poker, a machete, and any other weapon he finds laying around. The Ghostfaces can take an immense amount of damage, should be faster, stronger, and more durable, and they fight with different guns like revolvers and a powerful shotgun. Shotguns that UX states are much stronger than the shotguns we see in real life. Ghostface also has a voice changer, but it doesn't help him here. My question is, how would Ghostface win? Fisherman has been resourceful enough to use dummies, has used crabs to scare people, can mess with electrical appliances just by existing near them. He can teleport, and in a zombie form, yes that's a thing, he can regenerate from being thrown into a shredder. Ghostface can be clumsy and often lose by giving into their emotions. Fisherman can only be killed with a hook. I think more often than not, Fisherman will kill them in one of the many ways that they could die, while Ghostface wouldn't be able to figure out the one way to deal with the Fisherman. We need more Halloween matchups. And who knows, maybe you'll see one on this channel soon. I don't know. I don't run this shit. I just work here. Number 2, Dunban vs. Baiken. These two are sword fighters who lost the use of their right arms in battle. Their colonies would be brought to war by robotic-like entities that destroyed their peaceful way of life, both having their loved ones killed before their eyes, swearing revenge on the group that took something away from them. But what's interesting about this matchup is that Dunban is someone who actively works in a group, acting calm and is collected, while Baiken is somewhat of a lone wolf, being more aggressive and standoffish. I've talked about this matchup before, and that's because I love it so much. I can't wait to actually deep dive into this more with this debate. It's gonna be a fun time. Kagurabachi repped Dunban and Infinite Eon repped Baiken. This battle is deceptive. At first, it looks like just a normal sword fighter battle, but these guys play off each other rather nicely. Starting with Dunban. His sword could have added bonus effects, like having elemental attributes or harm a strong metal entity like the Mechon. Dunban fights using his arts, which are essentially skills in Xenoblade. Dunban can inflict bleed, draw aggro, remove aggro, heal his party, topple enemies, lower his opponent's physical attack and defense, grant haste, break someone's stability, revive himself, and even hit enemies who are behind him with an ether blast of electricity. Dunban may seem like he'd be at a disadvantage since he fights as a part of a group throughout all of Xenoblade, but he trained in the military for a long time and was the frontrunner in a war against the Mechon, so he can without a doubt handle himself. His whole fighting style is being a dodge tank, essentially drawing enemy attack and having the agility to dodge most of what comes at him. But Baiken is really tricky to nail down. Baiken is an aggressive fighter, specializing in counters and parries, so in terms of this fight, it seems like their skills would put them on even footing, even if Dunban is more experienced. Dunban can do a lot with his arts, but Baiken can use graffiti to cause status effects. She can force someone to stop dashing, jumping, blocking, or even block every single attack herself. Baiken is in tune with her own ki and has plenty of equipment to help her in battle, like the firework cannon, a chain to pull people in, summon a tatami mat to launch people in the air, and has this really big metal danger wheel called the Zetsura. Here's where Dunban takes the advantage though. His equipment is busted. He has gems, which give characters special effects, like HP recovery, aura heal, extending the status effects he deals, increasing his own damage in multiple ways. He can poison someone, deal spike damage when attacked, can inflict slow, bind, HP steal, paralysis, lower her stats, and multiple resistances including a resistance to topple, meaning Baiken probably couldn't use her tatami mat on Dunban. If this was all we were talking about, Dunban takes this hands down, but then we get into the stats. Their cosmologies should be similar, but the speed and strength isn't. Baiken is much stronger than Dunban, and they should be at similar speeds. So the question is if Baiken's AP would take Dunban down too quickly or if Dunban's skills can put Baiken down first. If I had to make a call, I think Baiken wins. All she would need is one good hit on Dunban, while Dunban would need to dance around Baiken for a victory. And with their fighting styles, I can see Baiken tripping up Dunban and delivering the final blow. But I could be wrong here. and it seems like this is actually really close. As a big Xenoblade fan, this gets my seal of approval. But what matchup could possibly beat this one? Let's find out. Number 1, Siegfried versus Ike. Both were swordsmen who were trained by their fathers. Both wield a powerful magical blade that is heavily tied to another similar blade in the villain's hands. They both led groups of mercenaries as teenagers, and both had watched their fathers get slain by someone who was close to them, also being vilified by the world because of the resistance to powerful authority figures' actions. This matchup is great, one of my most wanted to be honest. But how is the debate? Tsubori repped Siegfried and Kagurabachi repped Ike. He's everywhere this month. Now, this is a very simple matchup that has some awesome interactions. For example, they both use highly magical swords. Siegfried uses the Soul Calibur, a sword that grants Siegfried resistances to soul and mind manipulation, many forms of corruption, and grants the ability to create ice-like crystals from his blade as well as give him some fire manipulation. Ike uses Ragno, an unbreakable sword that can do massive damage and has magical attributes. Magic and Fire Emblem can bypass armor, meaning that he could deal direct damage to Siegfried as long as he lands a hit. Ike could potentially be Lightspeed, while Siegfried could be scaled to Angle Fear, which if you relate that to Sergeant Frog, where Angle Moi comes from, then Siegfried should be millions of times faster than light. I don't like this argument, but I'll believe it for the podcast's sake. Although they do say that without that speed feat, Siegfried is about the speed of lightning. They should be about even in AP though, both being around star level. I'm gonna be honest, I have listed here in my notes really annoying heroes talk, and I can't remember why I thought it was annoying. Maybe because making heroes canon for verses can be really annoying? I don't know, but either way Siegfried wins this based on the speed advantage here. But if you didn't buy that, Ike would win. This is because of one thing. Siegfried has a soul charge meter. With this, he could do massive attacks and buff his physical stats. Ike has Nihil, an attack that can prevent enemies from activating skills, meaning Siegfried's best attack becomes null and void. Siegfried may have more experience, but against someone who will bypass his armor and tear him apart easily, I don't think it's as much of an advantage as people think. But overall, what a great matchup, and what a great 2 months for DBC and FBC. I think both shows are moving in a more positive direction, and I think my negative comments are going to be reduced more and more in the coming months. I know a lot of people found me because of these videos, and to that I say, hey, welcome to my channel. I'm a little monotone, but I talk about Death Battle and a lot of things in the Versus community that I love. If you didn't happen to find me because of these videos, seriously go subscribe to the Fan Battle cast. They are almost ahead of me in subs, and I really want to see that group thrive. I love what they are doing down there, and as a community man, I think it's completely worth your time. But that's all the time I personally have for today. Have a wonderful day everyone, and take care.